Hi, welcome to Project Geospatial. I'm Adam Simmons here at the GEOINT 2024 Symposium here in Orlando, Florida. I have the pleasure with talking with Nick Buck. How you doing, Nick?
Doing great, Adam.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me over.
Well, Nick, we have a lot of topics to go into, but first of all, I want to introduce his company, Buck Consulting, correct?
That's right. Buck Consulting Group is my baby. I started it 14 years ago. My career was Navy, 26 years, flying airplanes for 13. Test pilot, wanted to be an astronaut, and about mid-career, I made a change over to acquisition professional. I ran large programs for the Navy and the intelligence community. And when I retired from active duty in 2010, kind of the third part of my career is being an industry executive and running the Buck Group, which is a 1099 consortium of independent consultants, mostly former government folks that really understand the mission and want to continue to serve after they left the government. And the purpose of the company was essentially to help the industry base understand the mission more so that they can bring technology to bear.
Incredible. Well, before we dive a little bit more into that, I want to go back in time a little bit and just to talk about what inspired you to work in the IC industry. How did you get involved with that from the Navy?
That's a great question. Flying airplanes operationally really kind of gave me a feel for what was missing for the warfighter, because I didn't have certain things when I was out there flying operationally. And so when I had the opportunity to come into the acquisition community, a lot of what I was missing was intelligence information. And so I had the opportunity to work on a low Earth orbit satellite system as my very first job in the IC and acquisition, and I got the bug. 9/11 happened, and I'd been looking to try to maybe getting out of the Navy, but as soon as 9/11 happened and the whole issue of information sharing came out, how information was collected and was available, but it wasn't being used by the right people, that gave me a mandate. And so at that point, I decided to double down and became a major program manager for the Navy and the IC.
That's great. Now, fast forward again, back to your current. Let's talk about how much of that influence over your career has impacted your success in your company.
Well, I think that's a really important question, because there's only so many hours in a day, and you might as well do something that you're enjoying doing and you're making a difference. And so for me, my experience in the military and in the IC running programs was that there was a lack of communication in terms of what we're trying to actually accomplish in the government, and industry partners don't have that information. Now, they could get that information if they decided to do a 30-year career in the government, but they're not going to do that. So industry has this amazing technology, but they don't understand the mission domain per se. The government obviously understands their mission and their domain, but they're so busy doing their mission that they don't have time to necessarily look at the technology.
Got it.
And so that was really the primary motivation. When I left the government, I said, well, how do I continue to make a difference? And when I saw this gap, I guess this is the definition of entrepreneur, is that you see a gap and you fill it. And so I started the Buck Group with just me, helping vendors understand the mission. And as additional people came out of government and started their own independent consulting, they said, hey, I really like what you're doing. This is making a huge difference. Can we work together? And so that's we're now over 80 SMEs across most of the IC and the DoD, with a few Fed Civ. But the idea is that no matter which agency it is, they have a mission to do. And if you understand that domain as a provider, you can make a better solution.
So more than a consulting group, you have a massive partnership and networking group that you've pulled together, which is really, I would say, the unique differentiator you have over other consulting firms.
Absolutely. I think what sets us apart, and clients have told us this, is not just the availability for market expertise, but actually the depth of understanding and the closeness that we maintain with the mission. And that way it's current. It's not 3 years ago kind of knowledge. The second thing is that we are, most of us are technical or analytic or contracts. There's some kind of tradecraft in each of the consultants in the consortium. And so they can work with different people in the company. So it's not just one group of clients getting the value. We work with the CEOs all the way down to the engineers, and everybody needs that kind of extra help understanding what the customers are doing.
And you give partners a chance to reach across the table to other partners within the group and say, hey, these folks over here have the skills to fill the gap without having to search across the rest of the industry, right?
That's critically important because I think, frankly, too many people try to be too many things to all people. And so I know what I know, you know what you know. A client may ask me a question about something that I know you know.
Right.
I'm not going to try to answer that question, I'm going to bring you in, right? So that's been really a powerful piece, is recognizing the kind of the edges and of what one's knowledge is, and then use somebody else in the network to do that. We like to surround our client with basically a program office. So I was a program manager, I had a contracts manager, we had engineers, and we would basically have our meetings, we decide what we want to do as a government. So what we do at the group is we kind of replicate that with our clients. So when they're giving a pitch, we have someone who is looking at it from a contracts lens, an engineering lens, a program management lens, an executive lens. And so we can kind of give feedback to our clients based on how is their message going to resonate with these different people? And how would I say it differently? Or maybe you missed the mark. And they really appreciate it because when they go in and they have that one shot to tell their story, it resonates with all the people in the room. And that's a skill that we train our clients to do. Ideally, they pick that up, and that's just the way they do business. And if they do that, then the government actually gets better value. As a government person, I was very frustrated because too many people came in either unprepared or they didn't know what we did. And many times they would be in the wrong meeting. They'd come talk to me about something, and it's actually the guy down the hall. I love tech. I love talking tech. But if you come talk to me about something that's not in my mandate, there's nothing I can do for you, right? And so that was one of the big motivators for me, actually, to kind of fix, if you will, that kind of approach. Hey, know who you're going to see, bring value to every meeting, and if you do that, you're going to have great results.
Well, so all of this expertise that you built up within within your consulting group has also led you to be have an interesting place within the industry where you can bring in network on a bigger scale, which I believe you also have an advisory group that you've been working with as well for quite some time. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. The NRO Industry Advisory Working Group is a working group within the U.S. Geospatial Intelligence Foundation. USGIF is a 501c3 and doing things for the common good. And the NRO Industry Advisory Group was formed really to help industry get together on matters of strategic importance to the industry base. So, in fact, it started 10 years ago. When the NRO ground enterprise was changing the way they were going to do contracting and acquisition going forward. And so that really led kind of confused industries, what was the business model going to look like. And as the government people were going forward with their program, they were saying, hey, we're getting feedback from industry that they don't like what we're doing. And so I said, well, that doesn't make sense because everybody I've talked to says what you're doing is great. So there was this, So we went and talked to a few folks and come to find out that any problem that industry had with the way the government was changing things had to do with how do I forecast my business? Am I going to be around in 3 years after you make this change? And so brought that back to the government. They said, well, it's not our job to tell industry how to do their business. And I said, well, frankly, it's not their job to tell you how to do your operating model.
Right.
But one thing I know is that if you're changing your operating model and they're changing their business model and you're not talking to each other, it's not going to turn out well.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Right, exactly. So they said, well, what do we do about that? I said, well, let's just see if we can get a group together. And the government folks were very skeptical because they said, everybody competes. They're not going to do this together. They're going to be kind of, we did a call, and in the very first meeting, 40 people showed up from 40 different companies.
Wow.
And it's been going strong ever since. So
how many companies are participating?
Let's see, the current distribution is 250 plus members across 200 companies.
How do you manage that in a meeting? That's incredible.
Well, typically we have about 35 to 50 in any given meeting, and not everybody can make every meeting. And we meet monthly. to do a working session. And what we'll do is we'll take on a topic of interest to industry. Maybe it's, hey, how do we get commercial software across the chasm into the programs of record? That's a big issue these days. Hey, how do we help the government adopt agile DevSecOps? Hey, how do we, this whole multi-cloud thing that's emerging, how's that going to look? What's the business model? How do we need to change architectures? So there's a number of topics that industry get impacted by, and people are willing to volunteer their time to help solve the problem. And so very happy for that group. Basically, it's important to say about the working group that it's a model that's been around for a long time.
Okay.
The couple key things. One, it's not sponsored by any government agency. So while we say it's the NRO Industry Advisory Working Group, it's about the NRO market. It's businesses doing work in the NRO. You can have one of these for any market you want, but we have it for the NRO because that was the programs and the government customer that these companies were focused on. But it's really also important to make sure that this is not a kind of a proprietary, restricted kind of activity. We've got to have objectivity. We've got to have, it's not business development. It's not where people come sell their stuff. It's about how do we do things, right? How is the business model changing, and how are we going to actually, we as companies, as industry, think it needs to work? And by coming together and having a unified answer to that, it really helps ourselves figure out what we want to do, but it also helps the government when they start looking at acquisitions.
Right. Wow. Amazing. And it sounds like everything's still going strong. And well, let me take things a little bit on a higher level. For example, we're here at the symposium, and as it relates to the advisory group, and maybe even as it relates to your company, what types of technologies, what types of business, what kind of interactions with the government are you seeing here that you think you might have conversations about within your network in both organizations?
I'm actually really glad you asked that question. I was talking to somebody the other day after one of the keynotes, and I said, "What did you think about that?" And the person said, "Oh, it's pretty high level." I said, "Really?" I said, "These three things were said," and the person said, "I didn't get that." I go, "Yeah, that's the problem, right?" So it's interesting. Part of this is part of what the Buck Group does as people who are in the government and know when somebody says something in the government and they what they say and then versus what they mean. We can help industry interpret that. And so some of the topics that came up from the keynotes, we then bring down here to the floor, and 2 or 3 main topics, and we can look at some of the technology, and all around this floor there's great solutions. Again, it's that match between the domain and the technology. So we listen to the keynotes, get the domain, what's the commander trying to say he wants to do, he or she, and then we come down here, and as we're talking to our clients, we're talking to companies on the floor, we can say, by the way, did you hear what they said? And so that's why I really appreciate a venue like GEOINT, because you've got both of those. You can understand the mission, and you can come down and technology all in one shot.
It's quicker pace too. Everybody's here. And you can interact and react very quickly.
That's right. So the ROI on your travel time and all that is very high.
So awesome. Well, as we wrap up, last couple questions is anything you would like to finish up, either talking about the Buck Consulting Group or as well as the advisory group as well.
Absolutely. I would say for the industry advisory group, any company that is doing business in the NRO market, or frankly the NGA market because they're very close, I would seriously consider volunteering with the working group.
How do they do that?
All they've got to do is they've got to reach out to USGIF and just say, hey, I'm interested in the NRO Industry Advisory Working Group. They'll get you on the distribution. It's really a benefit of the membership. So when you join USGIF, the ability to interact with other people in these kind of venues is really, so you might as well take advantage of it. So it's very easy, just reach out to USGIF, they'll put you in there, they'll get you on the distribution, and then you'll have an opportunity to see the kind of topics. So for example, if your company is doing digital engineering, which is a huge topic right now, we have a community of interest on that topic. We have a community of interest on multi-cloud. So I would encourage everybody, so that's kind of my parting shot on the working group is, we need more industry partners. 250 plus names sounds like a lot of people, but actually there's so many topics and many hands makes light work. So really looking forward to people coming out. From a Buck Group side, Buck Consulting Group side, I would say my plea to industry is really spend a little time understanding what your customer is trying to do. And it actually even starts with going to their website and really just kind of spending some time understanding their mission, looking what their challenges are. There's an amazing amount of open source information about our customers. And if you get to know your customer a little bit better, you're going to be more effective when you talk to them.
Right. Is there an effective way for potential clients to go through, if they're interested in you, to see the breadth of knowledge across your partners that you offer?
Oh, absolutely. We're on the web at buckgroup.net, and just if you hit that website, there's an information tab where you can reach out to us. And of course, you can look me up on LinkedIn and always connect with me that way.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the conversation and the incredible insights. We hope everybody checks out the Industry Advisory Group as well as the Buck Consulting Group as well. So I thank you everybody for joining us at the GEOINT 2024 Symposium. And this is Adam Simmons. We'll talk to everybody next time.